what is it that is in my control and what is it that is not. And one time I put grief down, and I thought, it's not in my hands to grieve now. I may grieve in a couple of months, but for now, one, it's not in my hands. Two, it is not certain.
Hello, guys. Welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories. The place where we share with you real life stories of inspiration, resilience, determination, perseverance. And this episode, I'm so excited to welcome my friend Carla Berbary to the show. Carla, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories.
Thank you, Devon. I'm very glad to be here.
Indeed. Here what we do is that we like to first of all, tell us, Carla, what it is that you do. How do you serve? How do you bring value to the lives of others?
So I was born in Lebanon, and I was a couple of months old when the Lebanese civil war started, and I was a couple of months short of my 16th birthday when it ended. So basically, the first 15 to 16 years of my life were during the war. Then at the age of 25, I moved to Australia, where I am currently living and been living here for 24 years. What I do, I did study, my first degree was in IT. I did programming, worked for a couple of years in it, but it didn't give me what I really wanted it to give me. So I went back to uni and retrained in psychology. And during COVID, I did another master's degree in social work. So for the past 6 years, I have been in private practice. I teach at university. I give talks on mental health in companies, and I am an EAP provider, which is the Employee Assistance Program.
Indeed. What specifically are you working on now that helps people or those clients that you have in the workplace?
My specialty is childhood wounds and basically trauma, because we have all been through traumatic events, some of us less than others, but I know that people are scared of the word trauma, but we've all been through trauma.
Yeah. So Carla, if someone wanted to get your help, they are suffering from some childhood trauma, and
Yes.
figure you could probably help them to work through those issues, how would they find you?
I am on social media. I am on Instagram as Not a Life Sentence, and I am on LinkedIn.
I know if they just type your name in on LinkedIn, they'll find you.
Yes, just type in my name and they will find me.
All right, perfect. All right, so we're at the crux of the matter now, Carla. What we'd like to know is, it seems like you've had certainly the first 15, 16 years of your life, rather traumatic, growing up in a
Of
war
course.
area. But I'm sure you have had to deal with some other issues, challenges as well along the way. So we would like to know, like you to tell us one of your keep on pushing stories, a time when you had to overcome a significant hurdle or go through some changes in order to achieve. So please do fill us in on your keep on pushing story.
Sure. And thank you for giving me the chance to do so. Of course, I am 49, so I have had my share bit of, hurdles and challenges in life. But for the sake of today's episode, I thought maybe of sharing something that was a bit tough during my first pregnancy. So when I went for my 20-week ultrasound, For me, it was I wanted to check the gender of the baby. But from the medical point of view, they wanted, of course, to check on the heart and the other organs of the baby. So they told me that I have a girl, which I wanted, and I was very happy. But then they saw what they call markers, and they did further investigations, and they told me that the baby may be born stillborn. And then they said they are going to do another ultrasound, a more specific one. And they did, and they found another marker. They found that the femur is a little bit short because they looked at her father and myself. We are of average height. And they said the baby may have trisomy 17 or 13. People with Down syndrome have got trisomy 21.
Mm-hmm.
So they said my case could be trisomy 13 or 17, which means the baby is going to be born, but half dead. And if that's the case, they will not even try to do anything for the baby. They will just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
So this was 5 months of pregnancy. So yeah, you could imagine how tough that was. And then I asked them, how can be 100% certain? Because we have already done 2 tests. They said the only way is to do the amniocentesis, which is to get a bit of the water out and to examine it. But they said that the complications could be, it's very rare, but the water may fully leak out and then they will need to get the baby out. And it was a bit too early. I said, all right, so what are our options? They said maybe to wait if you wanted until the baby or until the pregnancy is 7 months, because if we needed to intervene and get the baby out because the water fully leaked out, then the baby has a bigger chance at surviving. I said, all right. So those 2 months were really difficult because I couldn't buy, new baby things. I couldn't look forward to it. But somehow I was able to push it away. I said to myself, uh, if that is the case and I'm going to lose the baby, it's going to be devastating. But for me, they haven't confirmed it 100% yet. So let me grieve when I come to it. I'm not saying those 2 months were easy ones, but not as hard as I would have imagined. Or I was able to, put it a little bit off. And then at the 7 month mark, we did the amniocentesis, and they said, no, we are having a fully developed, healthy baby. And
Wow.
now she's 16, or she turns 16 in 10 days, actually. So, and she's a strong-willed child.
Yes. That's a happy ending.
That's a happy ending. Her birth was a bit traumatic as well. They let me keep on pushing for a bit longer than I was supposed to. So I ran short on oxygen, and so did the baby. So the baby came out half dead, really. So they had to resuscitate her. So she stayed the first 9 days in the ICU, which
Yeah.
was okay because they said that she was going to be okay, but it just they needed to monitor her. So she is a survival, and she definitely is a strong-willed child from the beginning.
Indeed. So a strong-willed child who's a survivor. I mean, actually, I can relate to your story somewhat. My
Yeah.
young daughter, who just turned 15 as well, she was
Mm.
born 23 weeks. Um,
Right. Wow.
and 1 pound 14 ounces. We live in America here where we use the old system. But she, you could see for all the tubes and stuff in the
Yeah.
hospital, she was determined to live, and yes, very strong-willed.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
so Carla, um, 2 months of, I'm going to describe it as agony. Not sure if your child is going to live. Um, and I'm sure there are lots of other women, expectant mothers, who are dealing
Yes,
with difficult pregnancies. Um, not sure as well if their
that's right.
child will um, be viable. And you did say it wasn't easy. Any tips as to how you got through those 2 months?
Yeah. Look, let me start by saying now that now I am looking and talking about it, and I am aware of the end result. My daughter is here in front of me, and 16 years is not a long time ago, but it is a long time ago as well. And as human beings, we tend to move on, we tend to forget things. But my advice would be uh, if I can say it is an advice, but again, I want just to stress on that it was a difficult time. It wasn't an easy period, but some days I would just sit with myself. I would have a pen and a paper, and I would write what is it that is in my control and what is it that is not. And one time, I put grief down, and I thought, it's not in my hands to grieve now. I may grieve in a couple of months, but for now, one, it's not in my hands. Two, it is not certain. So if it's coming, it is coming. I will be here for it. I will be ready for it. I will grieve anyway. So what has helped me is to put a timeline. I said to myself, just wait those 2 months, 7 to 8 weeks, and then you can do whatever. You can grieve, you can cry, you can scream, you can, but for now, just look after your health, look after the baby's health, because to date, the baby was still healthy, was still alive.
Mhm. So that's the advice you would give to a expectant mother in that situation. I often ask about the lessons that you take away from the experience. Are those some of the lessons as well, or you have some additional ones you can share?
Of course. Uh, Look, the lessons are that one, we are not in control of anything. Like the pregnancy was a planned one, but this issue was not planned and we didn't anticipate. So I would always say, have plans, but have them with a lead pencil. Don't write them with a Sharpie.
Hmm.
Just be flexible, because life takes us places that we don't expect.
Yeah. So, whether it's a challenging pregnancy or some other um, difficult circumstances in our life, I like what you said, though, that, you took out a pencil and paper and you wrote down the things that were in your control. But you also
Yes,
recognize that the scenarios that the worst case scenarios that the doctors pointed out were not necessarily certain. And I think
that's
that's a
right.
thing that gets a lot of people when we're in challenges, right? We sit there and we ruminate over the worst case scenarios, and,
Mm,
and that drives us crazy, and makes the experience even more difficult. Um,
yeah.
would you agree with that? And what advice would you have for someone who is dealing with that kind of situation now?
Yeah, I am going to put my therapist hat on now. and say that the majority of our thoughts, the majority of our negative thoughts are not factual, are not facts. Therefore, we need always to challenge ourselves when we have a negative thought, which means, one, we need to catch the thought, and then we need to be like lawyers and solicitors. We need to say to our brain, to ourselves, where is the evidence?
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, yes, the medical staff did see markers, but still they didn't say to me that it was 100%. So the evidence was not clear there, which means for me, at least at that time, it's not 100%. So that is not an evidence.
Yeah. And that's actually really good, healthy, positive thinking, empowered thinking, I should say, because again, we will hear of cases, situations that are similar to ours, not just in terms
Yes,
of pregnancy.
definitely.
And, I say to people all the time, the fact that it is true for this person over here doesn't mean that it's going to be true for you.
Yes.
And um, if you become the solicitor, the lawyer, and question yourself about the evidence, um, then it actually helps you to get through the situation. But also, we create hell in our minds long before we need to go through hell. And those thoughts do become self-fulfilling prophecies, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And it is also important to say that, even if this is happening, it is happening tomorrow. So for today, I am going to live a normal day.
Yeah,
I am not saying it is easy, but I am just saying if it were to happen, we cannot stop it.
indeed, indeed.
So today, enjoy it. Go and do whatever you want to do because tomorrow is coming anyway.
So live in the present and take advantage of everything that you
The
can.
moment, yes,
What's
exactly
your
right.
daughter's
Pardon?
What's your daughter's name?
Zoya,
Zoya,
which
16
is
years
a
old.
yes, which is a Russian name. The Greek equivalent is Zoe, and
Uh,
it means life.
indeed.
So
Indeed.
I had the name planned prior to her birth, but it was nice to know that Zoya means life.
Yeah, yeah. So, determined, strong-willed Zoya started out with a kind of a challenging situation, and here she is. But also, you demonstrating, I think, this keep on pushing indomitable spirit. This idea that we will always face challenges, but in the midst of it, we can find some peace by living in the moment and not
Mm,
ruminating on the worst case scenarios.
yeah, your motto is keep on pushing. Mine is nothing is a life sentence. We
Indeed.
can definitely thrive and not just survive.
I love that. Uh, Carla, thank you so much. That's been going to be helpful for a lot of people, not just
I hope
expectant
so.
mothers who are going through a challenging pregnancies, but
I hope so.
certainly the principles that you apply to get through and the thinking patterns to get through your situation, I think a lot of people can also apply to their lives. So thank you so much for joining us here on Keep on Pushing Stories.
Thank you, Devon.